Well, this is the inside of the hauler right now. So it has been a very long time since our last video here. I'm sure many of you are wondering if the hauler's still alive, if the three of us are still alive. The answer to that question is yes, the three of us are still alive. No, the hauler's not really alive. Yes, we still have the hauler. It's right here, sitting out in our new shop here. It doesn't really run. We might have broke it a little bit, but we're going to fix it. Don't worry about that. So, the last time you saw the hauler, it still had the 6.5 Detroit diesel in it that came with it from the factory. And wasn't running the greatest at the end there. So we made an executive decision and decided to come and swap it. Yeah, it's a mess right now. We'll get to that. Anyways, we pulled the 6.5 out of it. We bought a Cummins out of a 94 Dodge. It's Cummins with a P pump. Perfect engine for this truck. Along with that, we also got an MV4500. So now we got a manual transmission in here. Don't worry about this kind of hole in the floor. We'll fix that, don't worry. So now we got a Cummins swapped Chevy with an MV4500. What could go wrong, right? Bulletproof engine, bulletproof transmission. One small thing. These engines still need coolant. They don't run without coolant. Even though it's winter time here in Wisconsin, they still need a little bit of coolant. So, we did take this on a couple trips. We took it to Minnesota for heydays. We took it to Houghton twice, once for the rallies up there. The second time was for a good snowmobile trip, like we normally do. And on the way home, on that second trip up to Houghton, we broke off that coolant fitting right there. Broke that coolant fitting off, dumped all our coolant all over the highway, and overheated the engine, and kind of blew up cylinder 1. So here we are with the hauler, probably thinking, what are we gonna do now? We got a 98 Chevy with a Cummins in it. What are we gonna do with it? We love this truck. We don't want to give it up. So we're gonna rebuild it. So like I was saying before, we kind of melted down cylinder 1 here. And this might be a little bit tricky. I'm going to try and lift the head up to show you a little bit of what happened. So, that's piston number 1. It's not supposed to look like that. Melted it down. There's nothing really left there. Good news is we didn't mess anything up on the bottom end, but we will have to do a lot of work to this engine to get it back in running shape. The block's gonna have to be machined. We're gonna have to bore all the cylinders over. The head's gonna need some work. Probably new valve seats here on cylinder 1, and then we'll check the rest of them, make sure they're all good. We're gonna do it. We also sent something through this turbo here. Doesn't spin the greatest anymore. So luckily, a couple years ago, we picked up that bad boy at Heydays. Now that is a turbo that'll fit right onto this engine. So we got that going for us at least. Now, when we rebuild it, I don't think we're gonna do anything crazy. We kind of just want to bring it back to stock. This Cummins has way more power than the 6.5 ever did. And just driving it the way it was amazing. We could pull up a hill with 4 sleds behind the truck, 2 on the bed, 2 on a trailer, 5th gear. Without dropping a gear, we could accelerate up a hill with no problem. That thing's crazy. So I think we're just gonna build it up back to stock and run it like that. I mean, we want a nice reliable engine. We want a nice reliable truck. We obviously use this truck. We don't want to have any more breakdowns. I'm honestly surprised this is the first time it's ever left us stranded. So now, this is where we're at right now. We've got the truck here in the shop. A lot of spare parts on the bed over here, some spare sled parts over here. Hood's up on the roof so we can get some more room at the engine here. And there's a lot of stuff that we have to do to this truck yet to get it back to close to perfect condition. There's a lot of wiring in this engine bay that we don't need anymore. The 6.5 was a very electronic controlled engine. A lot of sensors, injectors, and everything ran off of electronics. All of these wires here, almost all of them can go. If you don't know anything about these Cummins, they can pretty much run without any electricity. It's a completely mechanical engine, so that makes it awesome to swap into something because it's a lot less of an electrical mess once you're done with it. You really don't need much electrical. So, we're going to clean all that up while we're at it here. Before we pull the engine, we're going to clean all that up. We're going to test fit all of our sensor wiring and everything while the engine's still in place there. Make sure everything fits good. Rerun all the wires that we need. Of course, we're going to have to change some wiring stuff. We're going to have to get rid of some stuff, add some different stuff because this engine doesn't belong in here. And we're going to do all that before we pull the engine, I think. Also, we got some work to do inside. Our heater kind of really only blows up on the windshield a little bit and doesn't really blow anywhere else. So your toes get a little cold. There's also multiple holes in the passenger side here. Yeah, it's not the best for a winter vehicle. But once we get all that done, we're going to send the engine block out to get machined. We're going to send the head out to get machined and not revalved. We're going to fix the valve seats and probably check it out, make sure the rest of it's good. And then we're going to put that engine back together and plop it back in this truck. Now, when all that's said and done, our ultimate goal is to have this thing back at Heydays. I don't know, it's usually in September. We'd like to get this truck up and running for Heydays again and bring it there. We're in no hurry to get it done because we want to do it right. We don't want to half-ass it like we did before. The reason why we blew up in the first place, or the reason why we blew this Cummins up in the first place, is because we never took the time to add any sensors or any gauges inside. We didn't have a coolant temp sensor. We didn't have an oil pressure sensor for this Cummins. And that is what ultimately killed us when we overheated. We didn't know it was overheating until it happened. So, we're going to take it slow, get this old girl up and running again, and hopefully get it to Heydays this year. And we just want to build a nice, reliable snowmobile truck. Kubi, where'd you grab that beer from?
On top of the fridge.
There's cold beer in the fridge.
Have you ever had a hot beer before?
I've tried it a time or two. It's just not good.
You know what? I like me a good hot beer.
Good.
You know what I really like? A hot Foster's. Even better.
Good old hot beer every now and then, huh?
What happened to the steering wheel?
Yeah. Are you okay?
Do I look like I'm okay?
No.
No.
Oh, Kubi.
Yeah?
What did we do to this truck?
Well, so the long story is, it had 6.5 in it, and we blew it up. So we put a Cummins in it, and then we blew that up.
What's the short story?
It's fucked.
So what are we gonna do now?
Well, so we're rebuilding the Cummins, and we're actually gonna wire everything in correctly. So we've ripped apart the entire interior, so we could get to the actual wiring harness, and then while we're kind of waiting for the rebuild on the motor to start happening, we will mock up a harness, get that built, and then just go from there. Hopefully we'll have the harness done by the time we actually get around to rebuilding the motor, and then once everything, once we get the motor back, then we can just button it all up and then be good to go. Be ready to rock.
So what Kubi doesn't know is I just told you everything that he just said.
Fucking man.
Pretty much word for word.
So the only way you can do is you can like alternate it between you and me.
Yeah. So yeah, we do have the whole interior, well, not interior, the whole dash of the truck is torn out.
We left the mouse nest in here.
We did leave the mouse nest. Every once in a while, it's nice to have a little mouse company,
We got a homeless problem in America. We want to make sure everybody had a home.
Those mice have a home right there. Surprisingly, that's the only mouse nest. So
That we found. There's probably a whole mouse nest in here.
there might be. So we haven't torn everything apart yet, but we'll get to that. And I think Kubi might be afraid of mice.
I've had bad experiences with mice and flying squirrels in previous houses.
So if I find a mouse, I'm gonna catch it, and I'm gonna give it to Kubi as a birthday present.
Well, I guess you'll have to give it to me next year because today's my birthday.
I might look today. So we made a little time lapse of us tearing the front end off of the truck here on this GoPro. Where do you put your beer up here? Right there.
Oh boy.
Whoops. Christ, this GoPro's from like 1983. Holy shit, it takes a full-size SD card?
You ever seen one of those before?
A full-size SD card? No. Just gonna slide that back in there. How do you work this thing? Now I got it nice and messed up so it's not looking at the truck anymore.
Nice.
Almost forgot my beer. Ouch. Lights are a little low up here.
Yeah, one of these days we're gonna fucking smash one of those over their head.
I almost did right now. Cheers. I can't reach you.